Today we're making the P4 Senator. And this is from Helldivers 2. So of course we're spreading some democracy. You can see I went with a lot of tree supports for the printing of this. And this turned out to be an extremely good 3D model. The link in the description to the original version is below. And the original designer did an amazing job here. I was actually able to put this together with mostly no glue. And it is freaking sweet. So yeah, this is a massive, massive revolver from the game Helldivers 2. And this is of course a prop and crossplay and completely hollow plastic that we're going to be making today. And yeah, this thing is really freaking huge. It's really cool, but it is surprisingly big, bigger than I expected, especially because the cylinder is actually really small. And as you can see, there was a lot of cleanup when it came to these supports, so I won't bore you with that. We'll move right on to putting things together. And we'll start with what is actually the most complicated part, but kind of coolest. So this is an internal part, and it prints in two halves. There is a solid version where nothing moves, but this gives you actuation. So you can put a couple of pins in. This allows you to put in a few pieces. And then what we can do is take a spring from a pin and we cut it in half. And that allows us to have some actuation and some force feedback when it comes to these moving parts, which is really freaking cool. And I was actually daunted by the looks of it when I was putting together because a lot of parts to go in. But in the end, it ended up being really good. I did make a custom parts for myself. The bits inside with the little holes, I made them and designed them myself just so that I can make it a bit simpler to attach it all. But it worked out beautifully. And here it is in its final form. And this is actually great because it's split in half, which means we can easily see what's going on inside, as this is going to be two parts put together. And I've also given the parts here a silver paint job so that when they're together, they'll be one of the only things that will actually be silver. The rest is going to be matte black. And as we put the other half on, I think you can start to figure out where this is going to go in the final build. So yeah, let's get onto that final build. So here we have the base that we're going to work from. And then we have our kind of insert that goes in with our actuation points. And then the rest amazingly goes together with no glue. I thought there was going to be a ton of glue in this one, but when I started putting it together, I was like, wait a minute, I don't think I'm going to need that. And there's only one part that gets put together with glue, and that is actually the torch, which goes on the bottom at the end. So this was a little bit of a tight fit. As you can see, I was struggling with it, and we've got this going at 200% right now speed. And this definitely was a bit that really had to be fitted into basically 4 different pieces and squeezed in. But once it went in, it was fine. Then we've got our cylinder. So this was a nice tight squeeze. And the great thing about the cylinder is the way it was designed to be 3D printed is the bit in the middle rotates by itself. So it's actually not attached to the rest of the print, even though of course it's one object that you're printing off. We've also got this pin that goes in, which I believe is supposed to be metal, but of course I'm just going to use a plastic one here. I had no issues with this, but of course I think this is a bit, if you wanted to use something that is metal, probably the way to go. But my entire build here is of course hollow plastic, so no substance to it all. Then we've got the front, and this is the interesting part about this. Of course, this is a fictional thing from Helldivers 2, and looking at this, there's no reason for this to be so big. Like, it's just basically, if this was a real thing, it would just be a big chunk of heavy metal, and that would be it. It serves absolutely no function. But of course, it does look cool as hell. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to then put this in, and this is going to be a pain in the ass. We need to get 3 different parts lined up. Once they're lined up, we can just shove it together, and then there we go. But it was a very tough little thing to get in there properly. And what I'll also say is the great thing about this not being put together with any glue is I can come back and repaint this, because I've gone with a matte black paint job, but I might want to come back and do this silver or maybe gloss it up or something, and I can totally do that. I can just take it apart and we can go ahead and redo it. So this is the only part that's going to be glued on, and I'm going to glue it on in a way that it will only be glued to the front part. So if I do want to disassemble this, I can. It should be that there's no connection at all between the parts, and that way I can disassemble it. If I want to, we're going to be able to paint it up if need be. I think I maybe went a little bit overboard with the glue here. I don't think I actually need this much, to be honest with you, but certainly it ain't coming off, so I got no problem with that. And that is it, basically. We're almost there. But I do have a couple of actuation points to show off. This thing does move in different ways that are cool. So of course I already showed you a couple of them, but there's one more that I honestly wasn't expecting to work so well. So this is the final build. Of course, all matte black, the whole thing's been sprayed up, so I don't know if I should come back and redo it, maybe do a silver and black or something like that. Because it can be taken apart, it's definitely an option for the future. But this is one of the coolest parts. So this actually rotates up and spins. So you've got a cool thing to mess around with, kind of a fidget thingy, and it's just really cool. So loving it. We've also, of course, got our moving parts and our actuation points, and they really look and feel incredibly good. So yeah, this ended up being a surprisingly good build. The original designer here did a lot better than I expected. When I downloaded this first time, I thought, cool, I'll print this off and slap it together. But I really wasn't expecting it to have such great kind of fidget points. Like this is something other than its huge size, where it's just kind of cool to mess around with and like move things. And it just looks great. It's really nice. And other than maybe coming back and redoing this in a different color, a different paint job, it is just so freaking cool. So super impressed with it, super happy. This ended up being far better than I expected by far. Now give me your best Helldivers 2 quote in the comments below. And of course subscribe and like and all that, and hopefully we'll be back with a future project. Thanks for watching guys. Catch you next time.